In this video, I'm going to be showing you how to install these 6-inch smart disc lights from Lumary, as I'm currently in the middle of updating this hallway inside my house, and we're going to get rid of that light there in the center. Now, this set contains 4 of the disc lights, which are eventually going to go in the corners of this hallway. However, since these do require a junction box to install, and I haven't found a carpenter yet to replace that hatch, I'm going to show you one install using the junction box already installed in this light in the center. The install process is the same. You're going to see all the lights and all the features of the lights. Just know this is a set of 4 and not a set of 1. Let's jump in. Now, the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and we're going to kill the power to this light. All right, done. Now let's get that old light off and get to work. Now, to do this job, all you're going to need is a couple of screwdrivers and a pair of pliers. That's all it really should take. But the first thing to get a lot of these old globes off, all you have to do is usually just a twist. I just twisted them here, and then the glass part will come right down. Now we're going to take our light bulb off here, get rid of our light bulb. And usually there's only a couple of screws here holding this on, and you can then twist the fixture, drop it, and then you can undo your connections. Let me go here, let me show you. All right, so if you look in here, you'll see that there's actually one of them's missing over here, the rest person that put this on, but you also see one little flathead screw there. I'm just gonna back that off a couple turns, and then this whole thing is just gonna twist, and then it should drop right down. All right, and as I unscrewed it, this whole thing just fell. Unfortunately, I wasn't rolling for that, but there are just a couple of these wire nuts that are on here. You're just gonna have to go ahead and untwist them off to basically uninstall the old light fixture. All right, so we got everything opened up here, and I want to explain what's going on. So here, let me zoom you in here for a second, as much as I can. Now, when you're installing this, you should have 3 wires. You should have your white, you should have either a black or a red, and then you've also got your ground, which is over here. Now, like I was saying before, these actually do require a junction box. There's keyholes for a 3.5-inch box, as well as keyholes for a 4-inch box. Again, this is an older box, it's an old metal box, it's 3.5. So you're gonna need at least a 3.5 or a 4-inch box in the ceiling for this to be able to go up and mount and then keep all of your connections shielded. The first thing that I'm doing here is I'm actually gonna go ahead and I'm gonna make sure that these screws that I'm using, let me bring the camera up here for a second. Because this is an older box and because this is an older installation, you can see that we've got kind of the plaster ceiling here. The box is behind the plaster. So I've got these really long screws on here to go into the keyholes on the light. So what we're gonna do is I'm actually gonna sink these screws in a little bit. I'm gonna put a couple turns on them, just enough so that there's basically about 3/4 or so, about an inch on these. So this light is gonna go up and kind of just turn right on once I get all of this wires inside the box. And now that we've got these screws sunken to the point where this is gonna lay flush against the ceiling, what we're gonna do is we're actually gonna go ahead and take our 3 wires and we're gonna wire nut them to the 3 wires here in the box, starting with the green one, which is your ground. Now, you may or may not have a wire nut on a ground array. I did not. They do supply, Lumary does supply wire nuts for these. I always do my grounds first. I go from there. And since these are really small wires and my house is wired in 12 gauge, it's a little hard to kind of twist them on. Okay, from there, next thing we're gonna do is the neutral. You wanna make sure that your neutrals here are also tightly wound. If they're not twisted up tight enough, just grab your pliers and just kind of twist them until they are tight. That's gonna go there, and then we're actually gonna put a wire nut on that as well. Now, I have 3 12-gauge wires and the Lumary wire, so the little teeny orange wire nut that comes is not going to fit. So what I'm gonna do is I'm actually gonna use a big red one, which is gonna hold all of those wires comfortably, and I don't have to worry about it coming undone or leaving anything exposed. Keep going, twisting until it tightens up. And finally, our black over here to our red. And for this, because I only have 1 wire going into the Lumary wire, I'm using a smaller yellow wire nut here, or you can use the supplied orange ones that they have. Now, let me show you what a good wire connection looks like. So what you got over here on the whites, you see there's no copper exposed here. You don't want any copper past the end of this. If you've got copper past the end of the wire nut, you gotta go ahead, you strip too much. You gotta cut some off the end. And also, if you can go ahead and give this a tug, it's not gonna come out of the wire nut. Same thing, we've got the same thing here on the green, and then we've also got the same here on the black thread. You can see that even if you're looking inside the nut, you can't really see any copper. And if I pull on this, it's not coming out. Actually, the whole light's hanging on its own, which is fine. You don't want this to come out. This is now a secure connection. We just have to get this all in the box, in the keyholes, and give it a little bit of a twist. I've got these up here. This actually pops off. This little lens here will pop off, and now I can go ahead and I can tighten these screws the rest of the way. So now this is, again, flush up on the ceiling. Make sure not to over tighten them because you don't want to crack the plastic on the light. They don't have to be super torqued. Just enough so that it's snug It's flush and it's not going to move around if you're tapping it, right? Basically, you don't want to be able to turn it here with your bare hands. And once it's like that, you're up there, basically pop in your little lens, which again goes in and it's a little twist. So to remove this, it's over here to up, it's a little twist, and then this will drop. So you go ahead, you can use that to get your lights in there. And now we're up here, this light's installed up here in the ceiling. But we're not done yet. We're actually gonna be replacing the old switch, the old rocker switch, with one of the Lumary smart light switches. Now this switch is sold separately, so if you wanna pass on this part of the installation, you absolutely can. And I will say that this Lumary smart light switch will only work with Lumary products. What we're gonna do is we're gonna install this into the wall so we can control this with our phone or any of our other home smart devices, Google or the Amazon one. Can't say that because it'll go off in the next room. However, I will say that this type of smart switch does require you to have a neutral in your box, which is why this is all apart. I wanted to verify that there was a neutral before I went ahead and I installed this switch. Let me show you what I mean. Now, if we look inside the box here, this is the switch that we're gonna be replacing with the smart switch. And what we have is we've got this red here. This is actually what's going up to the light that we just installed. We've got our black here, which is power, to power the light. We've got our copper here, which is gonna be our ground. And then these whites off to the side here are going to be our neutral. If you don't have this in the back of the box, all the whites together, you cannot install this switch. What we're gonna do here is we're gonna go ahead, detach this, take this off, and kind of spread everything apart. Got the old switch off. We're gonna go ahead and straighten all of the wires because everything's gonna be attached with these wire nuts. So we're gonna go ahead, find the little loops, and then go and just kind of straighten them out there. Take this wire nut off of the neutrals because we're gonna have to tie that one in there as well. Now, once we have all the other ones here wire nutted like we did before, it's time to tie into the neutral with the white. Now, since we've got two here and we've got one here, that's gonna be 3 wires. I'm not gonna use the orange one supplied by Lumary. I'm gonna use a yellow one here so it can fit all the wires. Now, once that neutral there is connected, we wanna get everything here back inside the wall. I like to put the neutrals here in the back first because they generally will not be touched again. Then once the neutrals go in, it's pretty much however this is all going to go in it and fit. And once we get our wall plate back on, we can go ahead and turn the power on and test this out. And then once we get the power turned on, it's the moment of truth. And now we can go ahead and we can set this up with the Lumary app and have full control over our lights. Now to pair everything up, what you have to do is you have to pair the light with the Lumary app and then you pair the switch with the light. Now if you read the instructions, they give you all the QR codes. It's a little bit of a process to get it done, but I ended up getting it done. Now with the switch itself, it actually has an on-off switch here on the bottom, which is an old-fashioned mechanical switch. I turn the light on and off, and then the buttons above it here, let me go ahead and let me see if I can bring it in here and I'll show you. If you're looking here at the buttons, you've actually got your mechanical switch here on the bottom. You've got your Lumary power switch. This is always on, powered as a remote. And what also you can do is you can change the RGB to change the colors in the light itself. And you'll see it here changing behind me. If I hit the RGB button, it goes blue. Hit it again, it goes bluer. And you kind of cycle through a lot of RGB colors, or you can hit the color temperature. It brings it right back to a white light. I think this is actually a really good touch that Lumary did because you don't have to actually open up the app, log into the app to be able to change the colors of your lights. All you have to do there, if you want to go ahead and dim it, they've got a dimmer switch. Everything here works and operates without having to have an app. Now, my 5-year-old, she is going to love hitting this button. So if you've got small kids, just be prepared. You're probably going to have all kinds of different colored lights in your house. But overall, I think it's a decent quality product. I can't wait to get a couple more of these up. And the switch is definitely an added bonus. So if you're gonna pick up lights like this, make sure that you go ahead and pick up the smart switch here as well. I'll leave links to both of them down below this video. Hey, real quick, if you like what you see in this video and you want to purchase one for yourself, I've left links to everything here in the description. And if you want more no nonsense, no BS product reviews, be sure to like and subscribe to the channel and hit the bell so you don't miss one.